Just fucking with you. Okay.
Does it work?
Yeah.
I'll just be like this. All right. So we're live, right?
Yeah.
She's like,
we're not live, but we're recording.
We're recording.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so podcast. This is our basically our first one that we've done. Beyond the first meeting at Mead's Green Door Cafe, and then we did meet initially at Disclosure Fest in LA, so that was cool. Vibed over there, and I guess essentially we're all trying to help other people with some of the experiences that we had and just chop it up, hash out different things that goes on with society. And through our experience and through our love for culture and love for humanity, we want to be able to bring this to light and just share it with people, you know, and anything that we can do to support as well. Today's topic?
Inadequacy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what originally happened was when we met, it was kind of like one of those, the festival itself was one of those situations where you're like, oh man, we're so different, but we're all interconnected. Like, and then I think you messaged me, we should do a podcast.
Right.
So here we are, and we sat down and did a conversation, and what came up for both of us, I think, is just scenarios where we're feeling the pressure.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, the daily pressure, every day you wake up, you know, there's things that need to be done. There's things throughout your life in which you feel, you know, what am I doing at times? And so the topic in being inadequate or feeling inadequate is one that you brought to my attention. Is one that you kind of deal with a lot, and so did I. And once I started writing in the notes, it was just like blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? Like what? It's a lot. And so everyone out there, I'm sure that you at times have felt inadequate in your journey, and so we'd love to just share, you know, our feelings. And I think you mentioned that you read a bunch of poetry based on it.
It was funny because our conversation was like that day that shortly before we had met up, I actually ended up calling one of my friends because I was having one of those moments that I think on our journey, because we're both so individualistic in what we're doing. I'm studying acupuncture. Jay has a bunch of his own gigs going on, but it's not conventional. And if you come from, you know, a family or a culture that wants you to very much be in line with what is, they kind of get at you, and not in a way that it's from like a place of malice, but in that they're worried for you. And so sometimes the lack of support, at least for me, becomes really overwhelming. And so right before we had met up, I actually had to call one of my best friends and be like, I'm having an inadequate moment. Like, am I enough?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I am so blessed to be on the path that I'm on and things are lining up for me. But at the same time, like, who the fuck do I think I am? Like, you know? And that becomes a really overwhelming feeling, I think, for anyone in their path. I don't think I've ever met one person that has been like, from day one, like, I knew I had this fire inside me, but there were many obstacles that made me feel like I wasn't enough.
Right.
And that's a very human experience that I don't think we ever talk about.
Exactly. Definitely in feeling inadequate, I would say in growing up, I feel the same thing, because you have your people that are just looking out for you, want the best for you, and they're basically giving you, you know, their experience from years ago, you know, so it's a previous experience, but then we're talking, this is new wave shit, so, you know, this is a whole nother day and age. I think that is, you know, times have changed and they continuously change, but one thing that is becoming more and more apparent is your confidence in yourself. It's like, that's really key, is being able to feel adequate enough, independent enough to where other people are just noise, you know what I mean? So I guess in feeling inadequate, it's a lot of times we kind of beat ourselves up or overthink stuff to where it's like, oh man, like, what am I doing? And then that's, you know, it's a dangerous spot, because
we get in the game of comparison. Yeah, like, why is this journey not looking like this person's journey? And then that's where the inadequacy seeps in, right?
Right.
So I know for me, like, just to share a little tidbit, have been going through in this new phase of my life, I've had to let go of a lot of people.
Right.
Not because they, I don't love them, but simply because I have to love myself more in order to cultivate that in me, right? So I think what it comes down to is before you can get the courage to actually walk your path and not always like break down under the pressure, you have to make that space within yourself to actually find the self-love and build yourself up first, right?
Right, definitely. Self-love is key, and that's one of the first things that I put here. I'm gonna have my notes out a little bit here. But inadequacy, the first thing I wrote down is the feeling of not being good enough, or questioning your existence and your purpose and things like that. So it's one of those things that come up. It's like, people have like a midlife crisis or something. Or if you're in a relationship that's not good, or you're surrounding yourself with people that are not supportive of you, those are all a recipe for disaster and feeling inadequate yourself. Also, maybe not understanding where your parents are coming from, because who knows? That they honestly, at the end of the day, it was funny because today I just met up with my dad and my grandfather. It's been a little while since I seen my grandfather, but just sharing with my dad what I'm going through, some of the things that I'm going through, and he's like, well, he goes right into the, better start looking now for a new place, because actually the house that we're living in right now, it's going to be sold. So, they have your best interests at heart, and they want you to do things more of like an orthodox way. So like in kind of stepping outside of the mold and being more unorthodox on what we want to do, I think it's beneficial to just look at everything as a whole. Like you were saying, is like you want to step outside of your avatar and what you're living, and then just see like, hey, it's okay to do a different thing than what everybody's telling me what to do, and to also just give yourself more credit to where it's like, I'm doing pretty good. You know what I mean? It's like, and we can always be our own best, critic and our own best coach and stuff like that. And to push yourself is beneficial, but, also to kind of be able to, be grateful and slow things down, I think is really good too.
Well, I think also remember, you're always going to be your biggest critic. Like, that's it.
100%.
And so you don't need, whether the intentions are good or not, you really don't need the extra people in there.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know, exactly. And like a lot of the motivational speakers, they talk about it all the time. It's like our families, you know what I mean? They're going to, like, even sisters or siblings or brothers and close friends or best friends, they're not as supportive as you think, you know what I mean? And you have to get out there and surround yourself with different types of people where they're like not as envious or not as jealous or not as trying to tell you how to live, and thinking that they're on some other playing field. Like it's all about self-discovery and just realizing that patting yourself on the back, everything's gonna be okay. It's like the feeling of inadequacy. It's a gnarly one for me. So let me go back to my notes because
we're one of my favorite things that I've ever heard in regards to inadequacy and making sure that you are building yourself up to walk in your purpose was from Maya Angelou, and essentially what she said was you have to create a space inside yourself that no one else can touch, and that's
I love
that space has to be the boundary that only you get to walk into, because if you don't create that for yourself, then what do you have, right? You're gonna have a dirty room that anyone's going to be able to walk into.
Right.
I think the dirty room thing might not have been her. That might have been like my 14-year-old self interpreting that.
Right.
But that's what it comes down to. But it's an everyday journey and having to walk through it, right?
Yeah, and like the dirty room thing, that really brings up like a lot, because people, so in my journey, I feel like I had to find this supreme level of confidence where like it's on the flip side of ego, where it's like, okay, you understand what ego is, you understand what confidence is, you understand what people are twisted by how you might be on a different wavelength than them, and maybe you're just in a better mood. Like, I think society nowadays like gets mad at people that are in bad moods, you know, and just having a good time. So a lot of people are like, they call the energy vampires and stuff like that. So one of the main things is like, shoot, you know, find that supreme level of confidence in yourself to know that you are adequate, and anybody that's trying to afflict or trying to bring you down and take the helium from your balloons, you know what I mean? Like, I bring the balloons to the party, you know what I mean? And I'm gonna do it in the way that, like, you know, and if you know, you don't like the type of person that I am, cool. Then, like, you know, you gotta find your peoples, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, in finding your people that are supportive and stuff like that, you'll still have ones that are kind of on the fence, and some days they'll be in a bad mood, right?
Well, and you can't expect, like, I have a group of very close friends, and at the end of the day, you can't, people go through shit.
Right.
And you can't expect them to, like, they're your support,
right,
but you can't be a little Cody, right? You can't be a little codependent and just
Cody,
expect to always, I stole that from Broad City,
awesome.
And just expect to always have their unconditional,
right,
you know, attention, because they have to attend to themselves in their own
exactly.
rooms as well.
Exactly.
And so I think a part of really building yourself up and creating that room is remembering that you are your gatekeeper.
Right.
Right? You're responsible for what you let in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. The gatekeeper thing. And that's like, you know, in sales, it's like a sales term, like, because you have to go through the gatekeeper to be able to talk to the business owner, to be able to, like, you know, sell some stuff. But it's like, really, yeah, you're getting afflicted and you're getting, you know, sold different ideas and things from other people, but you're your own gatekeeper. So, you know, your beliefs and your intuitions, you have to hold true to them.
So responsible for it.
Still responsible, can't be a little codependent. I love it.
Yes, it's Broad City stole it.
Okay.
That's not from us.
No, that's cool. Yeah, because the codependency thing and learn to coddle yourself, I guess, too, is like what another thing is, like, since, you know, you can't expect, I guess, your friends to be there for you. You know, say, you know, if you're going through it, have a depression or something, slip into some despair.
They'll definitely be there, but they're not responsible for saving you, right?
They're not responsible. Exactly. And then, and that's projection too, is because, like, the longer that you are depressed or whatever, you're obviously projecting it. And so just like you're with your intentions, your thoughts, everything like that being all important, and, you know, it's essentially you speaking it into existence, or you thinking it into existence. You know, the main thing is to get out of it as quickly as you can, and to know the tools to get you out of that. Like, what day to day, what gets you, a lot of it is just the progress and the little things that add up, that you're like, you're tapping yourself on the back for this, you know, okay, cool, like, good job, like, all right, oh, that made me feel like that, like, and then you start
nurturing yourself, right?
Yes.
Like, you need to read the books that are going to make you grow. You need to read the things that, it's not all just about what you're feeding yourself. Yes, that's very important. Mm-hmm. Yes, your support system is very important. But what music are you listening to, right?
Sure.
Like, what kinds of things, are you scrolling through Instagram and just seeing things that are very superficial and aren't feeding you, or are you actually taking ownership for your life?
Right, exactly. There's a lot of noise, smoke and mirrors, a lot of shit like that, and especially the music too. So, like, you have guys like me where it's like, yo, gangsta rap, you know what I mean? Or even like in the gym, it's just something that pushes you. There's moments and stuff like that, but then you start to realize.
But I think that's important, right? Like, that kind of music, you know, you need that shit in the gym. When you're trying to squat something, I don't want to listen to piano music or the bamboo flute. I'm trying to channel some different energy.
That's right.
So when you're deep in your shit, what do you need to channel? Do you need to channel Maya Angelou? Do you need to channel Lil Wayne? Who do you fucking need?
Yeah, definitely Lil Wayne, Weezy, all the way. Man, and that's crazy. You know, learning the light and the dark, you know, and channeling the dark, channeling the light when you need to. And yeah, I mean, what else have I written down here? I think a lot of it, let's see, next thing I have is, you know, the betrayal of other people, or letdown of other people, of loved ones. That leads you into questioning your existence, your purpose. You know, am I good enough, and this, that, and the third. So a lot of people jump into relationships, they jump into things like where it's like, again, at the end of it, at the root of it, you know, my happiness and your happiness is completely two different things. So just like I think Will Smith said it, it's like you have to find your own happiness, and there's no way to happiness, but happiness is the way, right? You just have to choose to be happy. But there's things that you know affect us that would, you know, definitely put a damper on things. But in a world that, you know, likes to, I guess, prolong or excuse or, you know.
I feel like for a society in America where we talk so much about being individualistic, we are not. In the sense that we are really, you know, telling people you should live this way, you should be in a relationship, you should be doing this. And in those many types of roles that we're putting on top of someone, we're completely forgetting that like a relationship's not what creates happiness. You can be codependent in a relationship and it appear beautiful, but both of you are very toxic and not happy. You know, having the 9-to-5 job doesn't mean that your soul feels good.
Yeah, right.
So.
Absolutely. 9-to-5 job.
I mean, you might love, I know so many people that love their 9-to-5 jobs, like that's not a hit at 9-to-5 jobs, but at the same time, I'm the type of person where I know that if I was working in an office, I'd be peeling paint off the wall, like bored, right? You have to follow what your passion is.
Like that's another thing is, you know, are you doing what you really want to do? Yeah. I think is one of the big things. It's like, you know, people like to leapfrog to different professions and stuff like that. They kind of like to, you know, and then for me it's like, it was funny again talking with my pops today. He was like, yeah, Jay, you know, it sounds like again you're still doing a little of everything here, and I'm like, man, stop. But it's like,
but life is fluid, right?
Fluidity.
And what, like, when you said earlier, I already forgot you said it like 2 seconds ago, but it was something along the lines of like, you know, are you even doing what you want to do? That can mean so many different things to different people, right? Like, if I'm a single mom with 2 kids, doing what I want to do might be working that 9-to-5 so I can be home with my kids.
Right.
And that's more important to me right now.
Exactly.
Me with no children, I'm like, I would like to learn some more hippie shit and, you know, travel a little bit. But that's my life and that's what's important. And that's very different than someone else in a different circumstance. And those are both valid and both okay. That's
right, yeah, because your circumstances do dictate a lot. So, you know, hats off to everybody out there, you know, having babies and whatnot. They be, you know, working in 9-to-5 jobs and not to knock that at all, but, you know, obviously, and I shouldn't even say but, because that's going to negate what I just said, but.
No offense, but.
No offense, but, like, you know, don't stop dreaming is like one of the things that I just, you know, I have to always tell people, because you have people that just, they turn to cookie cutter or what have you, you know, and it's just like, oh man, I feel bad because, you know, I don't know, I look at things on a grander scale, you know, there's people out there, but okay. Not to get off on another tangent, you can call me Jade Tangent over here, but the support around you. So again, touching on this, who you hang around, that's one of the big things. Your path to independence, that's another big thing. To be your own coach, to be in your own like head, you know, and that's okay. We're our own biggest critics. You know, keep moving forward and doing what you like to do. And that'll show because you're doing your best work and doing that. You know, you take passion and pride into it. So I think that was also touched on.
I think another thing while we're talking about inadequacy, and only sharing because this has come up a lot for me in like my most recent, you know, thing that has made me grapple with this so much. The people that are criticizing you typically are loved ones, otherwise we don't give a fuck, right? Like if it's a random person that I just met 5 seconds ago and they're like, your job's a joke, you're like, your sentence was a joke, thank you for your time. And it's like whatever, right? But when it's a loved one, it hits a different way. And then it becomes very difficult and it's really easy to slip into the whole like, well, you do this, it's really easy to want to go there, right? And so I think when it comes to inadequacy is just remembering that like we are a mirror, right? Like so this person's only upset with me because they're not what they expected out of a child, and I'm only upset with them because they're not they're not what I wish I had for a parent. Like it all goes both ways. So once you're able to like also see, you know, you've created that space inside yourself and been like, we're the same. This is why this is so annoying.
Right.
I send you love on your journey. Let me
Right.
do my thing.
Exactly.
That also takes you to a whole new level instead of holding that resentment in you.
Right. Yeah, and that's another thing is the resentment. Once you get to a point of like supreme level of confidence and just knowing that everything is going to be okay, and just knowing that, like, you know, this is your journey and the journey is the destination, that, you know, that stuff, you know, understand that it's the formalities of them being a parent and or a sibling or a friend. So, you know, you just have to learn not to be jealous, not to have the resentment, not to have that stuff, because we all have the two wolves, or the duality in the mirrors and everything, where it's like, you know, what are you gonna feed? You know, you're gonna think negatively upon this. You think somebody's attacking you or whatever. You know, so.
But I also think that there is like that step in under recognizing that it's the same. That's why it irritates you. Mm-hmm. But also, instead of just sitting there and being like, well, we're the same but we're different, but actually like sending them compassion, right, and still creating that boundary is a whole other layer of healing there. Because if you can forgive someone that like is that you love, that has hurt you, that's a whole new level for you.
Whole new level. Yeah, you have to. There's a lesson being learned. You know, every time there's a lesson being learned. Protect your mental and emotional state, because a lot of times I hear that it's like, you know, when we get in our head, we get the emotional side of things. You have like the frontal lobe and the, you know, the fight or flight stuff. Yeah, amygdala. But a lot of times it's like to keep moving forward through it. You know, people are always going to be questioning and, you know, hating or whatever and stuff like that. So you have to just keep the tunnel vision and understand that, like, you know, this is what you're calling you. This is what you're meant to do, and keep moving forward. You know. What else do I have written down here? Yeah, it's funny. I wrote down a lot of the stuff that we already touched on. You're a product of your environment. You create your own destiny. You gotta take the risk. You gotta fail forward. Never give up. And then love without expecting it back. You know, that's a huge thing.
You're entitled to your work. You're never entitled to your results.
Entitled to your work.
Like, you can always put in as much effort as you, and you should. You should always do your very best, because not doing your very best, you'll regret. You will always think about, I could have spent 5 more minutes on it. That you'll regret. Right. But you know that you can't, you know, ever predict the outcome. Exactly. But you know exactly what you put into it.
For instance, they say selling this house and we got to move out, and we should have done this minutes ago. But that's. Yeah, and don't fall into the pit of despair. You know what I mean? That's what that's the whole depression thing. Is such a bad thing. But I believe that's.
I think what might be, you know, something that will probably resonate with a lot of people, and you kind of touched on a little bit, is like, you know, we are a product of our environment. None of us got to pick the circumstances in which we grew up in, or, you know, whatever. Many things happen throughout our lifespan that we don't get to pick. Right. And that's really shitty. Yeah. But it doesn't control us, and we do have the power always to like pick our responses to those things. Right. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like that's really hard to hear, especially when you know, if you've just gone through a traumatic event or something completely horrifying has happened to you, and someone comes up to you and goes, you're responsible for your, you know, how you respond to that. They're like, you can go fuck yourself. Okay. Exactly. But yeah, but it's like one of those things where it's like shitty things happen, but you get to decide whether you're gonna get stronger or you're gonna get bitter.
It's that one quote. Life is 80% of what happens. 20% of what happens to you and 80% of how you respond. Like,
sounds like a Nike logo.
Yeah, it's something. It is,
but it's true.
You instill fear. Yeah. If you instill fear in yourself in different things that you do. Yeah. Inadequacy is one of those things that you're just instilling fear into yourself. You know, you don't want to do that, man. All y'all feel adequate out there as much as you can. Feel all the adequacy you can.
Well, build yourself up.
And then you get the imposter syndrome. That's another thing I was gonna touch on. Is like,
tell me more about that.
Well, imposter syndrome is when you start questioning yourself, like, what am I doing? Essentially, I was talking to some guy earlier today from high school. Dude dude, like, was one of the dudes from high school, randomly just hit me back up. He's a DJ, you know, all the positive vibes to him and everything. But he was kind of, you know, a different, interesting kid in high school, I would say, for lack of a better term. He even told me today, he's like, dude, I was a dick to everybody in high school. But we were chopping it up today. And I think that one of the main things is, with the imposter syndrome, people don't understand that people out here faking it to make it. You know what I mean? You have to do that. What do you want to do? Just decide, right? So the imposter syndrome is like people telling you like, oh, you're just doing this for attention. Oh, you're just doing this for, you know, this, that, and the third one is like, oh, come on. And then you start to take that on as, you know, as like an imposter, like you're just faking it, when it's like, no, stop. That's the noise, again.
You didn't keep your room clean.
You didn't keep your room clean, exactly. And so like, make your bed, you know, clean your room, clean house, and clean out the books if you have to, because the friends and stuff like that are telling you stuff like to slow it down or to do this, or why are you even doing this, or just laughing at you or whatever.
Well, I think what's also difficult, we're both younger in the scheme of how old humans are going to live. And I think what is difficult is, so society is more fast-paced and more faster than it's ever been. People are moving, I feel like, more than they have, and still staying connected with old friends, right? Like, I could move in elementary school and I'll never see Amanda B again, right? But now I still know someone from like high school, thanks Facebook, you know what I mean? Like, those connections stay. Right. And I think what's difficult is remembering that in each phase of growth, there needs to be body counts in your life. Because if there is no body counts, did you grow? Because there's always going to be people, and it's more prevalent now, that don't want the best for you, because it shows them the worst in them, and they're not ready to deal with that. And I think it might have been easier back in the day before social media, I don't know, to just let that go, because you didn't have contact with all those people. But now you've got contact with 3,000 plus people. How do you deal with all that criticism as an average person? You're not a celebrity. No, we're not special, but we're special. Right.
And you should hold yourself as being, you know, you should think you're special yourself. You know what I mean? Like, as a whole, I don't know. I mean, I feel like you're special. You know what I mean?
Everyone's special, but I mean in the sense that, like, I feel like when certain people sign up for certain, you know, roles, they do open themselves up to criticism. As soon as we upload this, we open ourselves up to criticism, and we best have made a pep talk in ourselves that said, I deserve to speak. I did this out of the best intention of my heart.
Absolutely.
We're good. But, you know, average, you know, 13-year-olds who started on MySpace didn't have that pep talk in their head, because they weren't thinking, you know, 600 people I've never met are going to be criticizing my, you know, profile picture. Fast forward, I don't know how long it's been since MySpace, but like, same thing is happening today, where people are little mini celebrities, even though they're not celebrities, or they haven't really signed up for that platform. Right. But subconsciously, we have signed up for that platform. Right. It's true. So I think it makes it harder for people to understand that relationships, there's going to be a small sector of people that are going to stay near and dear to you and connected to you as they should, right? There's going to be a lot of people who are here just for a good time, and that's cool. Have a good time. That doesn't mean they have to be your whole time.
Exactly. Yeah, that's crazy. That's a big one. I think that, you know, just as long as you try and love people, you know, for who they are, and a lot of times you're going to come across people that are not how you are, you know what I mean?
And you're not how they are.
And you're not how they are. So the problem is you have a lot of people trying to either change people or judging people and things like that. So the best thing to do.
And I think also social media has made it worse, which I think is something that we should be talking about, because we're, you know, the first, but like, we can create an aesthetic, right? And I think that also makes it difficult and also more troubling for people that really are focusing on self-growth, because when you've created that aesthetic, it's almost like a prison that you have to live in. When like who you were a week ago is probably not the same. If you're focusing on self-growth, you know, you're going to therapy, you're going to gym, you're doing whatever you decided you need to do. Who you were a week ago should have changed in about a week, like, or should have grown, if not completely changed. And so you're kind of tying yourself down to those old habits, even if you're not physically tied.
This is true. Yeah, so on that, your old habits, what I like about that whole thing with social media is, you know, is the whole documenting your journey, your progress. And I love that. So like, I've had other things where it's like, you have people who are like, why do you like post everything and this, that, and the third? And it's like, it's because that's what the day and age that we live in. That's what people are doing. Yes, I'd love to go out and have some fun and go ride some jet skis right now, but that costs money, and I'm not gonna do that just to take a video of, you know, me doing a jet ski. Like, I'll do that. So I haven't even ridden a jet ski, you know, like people ask me to do that. So I much rather, work on myself and then document it and then continue the progress and then continue with the seeing like the beauty in the little things and be appreciative of the little things.
I think that's a good mindset to remember that you're just documenting your journey,
right,
as opposed to letting people gridlock you in your journey, right?
Exactly. Or showboating, peacocking, type shit. You don't want to.
I mean, they're on their journey. They're figuring it out. They're trying their best.
Yeah. And on the same, and you're right. On the same token, it's like you have other people where it's like, damn, like this looks fake. You know what I mean? But
then it goes back to the whole. Well, I guess what I was trying to get at with the social media is like, you can't let someone else tell you a goddamn thing about yourself.
Right.
Like, that's it. Point blank. Like, you can post all you want on your social media as long as you know that shit's for yourself.
Right.
And if someone comes at you and is like, remember when you used to do this? And you're like, hell yeah, 52 weeks ago, we moved on. Thank you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
so funny.
It's just really creating that, if you're going to put yourself out there and being mindful that if you're on social media, you're already putting yourself out there.
Right.
Existing on this planet, you've put yourself out there, but you're doing a little bit more on social media.
Right.
And you just got to remember that, like, this is your journey, and you can't let people typecast you, and they will try to typecast you because they're uncomfortable. And that's not your shit.
It's not my shit.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Man, inadequacy. I want to make sure that we're still on this. I feel like I get off on all the tangents.
I mean, I feel like if you're good.
Yeah, I mean, how do you guys think? If anybody out there is watching, if you guys ever do watch this, like, tell us what you think about your experience in feeling inadequate and overthinking shit. Because a lot of times it's just that, the overthinking it. At the end of the day, I believe that if somebody's like, hey Jay, I'm feeling inadequate, what would I tell them? I'd be like,
the only people that don't feel inadequate are psychopaths.
Ooh.
Actually, I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, it could be. Hey, we all kind of
crazy. We should maybe tune into MedCircle to learn more about that.
I like that. Right. You better feel adequate. Shit, what you talking about? Like, if somebody said that to me, I'd be like, look.
So you're done growing?
Right.
You've done all you need to do here?
Exactly. You gotta keep growing.
Yeah.
Got to. Feel adequate. Like, you have to take care of numero uno, right?
Yeah.
That's yourself. And so, you know that if you feel inadequate, you're not going to be doing your best work,
Well,
you're
and
living your truth.
The difference is, I think, is to not constantly feel inadequate, but to have that thought for a second is a reminder that you're human on this planet and that you've experienced life.
Right.
That doesn't make you more inadequate or worse. Like, you shouldn't crumble under that feeling, but just remember, you have that room. You made that room. Go back to it.
Right.
Build yourself back up.
Exactly. I love that. Go back to in something I forgot to say, good thing I remembered and you reminded me, is like you have the Confuciuses and the Buddhas and stuff like that where they're like, I'm out, I'm gonna go hit the trees and go in the woods and whatnot, and they be gone for a couple months, come back and be like, I found some shit out, and they share it with the world because that's what they did, is they went back to home, which was Mother Nature, and back into the woods or whatever to discover themselves and to like figure it all out, because a lot of times with all the smoke and mirrors, all the noise and all the bullshit, people be coming out and, just kind of messing with your intuition.
Yeah.
Messing with your own
Well, I mean, from day one, you have parents telling you what to do, teachers telling you what to do, whatever, neighborhood kids telling you, it builds up.
Right.
Like, I think for you to never have once taken a moment and been like, it feels so loud in here, like, please tell me who you are, because that's a surreal experience I cannot imagine.
Right.
Because I don't think there's one person on this planet that hasn't felt like they've been told what to do for so long that they didn't need to be a Buddha for a second and be like, I need to just figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Shoot.
Cool.
I think that really don't think if there's anything else I wanted to touch on, but I think that's it. Again, you know, if anybody out there wants to, you know, reply in the comments, let us know, subscribe, wherever it is. I don't know, it's my first one, my first YouTube video ever. Likewise. So I just wanted to say that I'm grateful for this platform, YouTube, for you, meeting you, you know, for everybody out there that is struggling and is trying to find some way around their struggle and to keep fighting through it, you know what I mean? Don't feel inadequate. Don't feel inadequate.
Feel it, run back to the room. Do what you need to do.
Exactly.
But we've got a bunch of topics that we have planned, and we are going to do this once a week.
Yes, 100%.
And basically, just come and sit, listen to us bullshit. Hopefully we empower you, because that's really all we want to do. We want to create a platform that kind of helps you grow when you're in that space, and talk about a variety of different topics. So
absolutely. Please don't condemn yourselves out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's okay if you're in a, you know, your 9 to 5 and all that stuff. Again, a little bit different, I guess. You know, I'm a little bit allergic to average like that, but if you're doing that, please, you know, don't think that I have anything against that or we do or anything like that. But don't instill the fear in yourself, you know, like that's exactly what it is.
And you're more than a job, right? Like you're so many different things. Do you? Don't let other people tell you bullshit about yourself.
No. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
All right, you guys. Love, be well, and till next week, right?
Yeah, we probably shouldn't swear so much on the next one. I think
no swearing.
Next time we're not gonna do it.
No swearing next time, I promise.